If you've lost weight and then gained it back and been on the weight loss roller coaster, this video is for you, whether it's been 100 pounds, whether it's been 10 pounds, or whether it's been 50 pounds. Doesn't matter. I'm making this video because in the last couple of days, I've talked to people who've lost over 100 pounds only to gain it all back. And just hearing in their voice the frustration, the hopelessness, and really kind of just the lack of understanding why is something that I was like, man, rather than just talk to these people one-on-one, I want to kind of talk through what's going on physiologically, mentally, environmentally, socially that is causing that to happen and kind of get behind the science behind it all. So what I'm going to explain and break down in this video is why rigid diets and diets that I call kind of almost like religions, like weight loss shakes, really just suck long term. We'll go over why you lost the weight initially and then gained it all back, or different variations of that. Maybe you gained most of it back, maybe you gained all of it back and more. We'll go over all that. The two things that must happen in order to keep the weight off long term. One of them is going to surprise you, and then the number one way to make this change. And I'll just say real quick, like I'm really passionate about this because it is so hard in life to break from your default setting. What I mean by that is like we all grow up, in different places around the world or different environments, and some people are born into a better socioeconomic status, or maybe they're born and exposed to more sports, and so they're more athletic. And so this is something that I just want to give people hope with, because if you do not have hope that you can rebel against the status quo and rebel against the norm, most people gain the weight back, then you will succumb to that. And I think it is really important just to start this video off with just the mindset that like you can do this. You just got to believe, and you got to understand the mechanism behind what's happening, and then really fight hard to resist the pull of what I call the dark side, but really just the pull back to your core old identity. You might be wondering, why should you listen to some dude that works out in helmets and is a big Star Wars nerd? Same way Jabba asks why he's got to pay 50,000 credits. And if this helps, I've spent well over 6 figures investing in coaching, mentorships, to make sure that I'm educated and certified in a number of different practices to help people change how they look, feel, and perform. And it's stuff that I've applied, whether that's running a sub 3 hour marathon, strength training, playing baseball at the Division 1 level, teaching group fitness. This is all stuff that I want to make sure that I'm like, anything that I talk about on this channel, I have done, and I've done for other people. And I've, over the last 6 years, worked with over 400 people one-on-one to help them see the changes and the results that they want to see, both in the mirror and also internally. And I've talked to hundreds of people at this point who have done the challenges on the channel. Thousands of people have done these all over the world. And so I've been able to talk to people about their struggles with losing weight, gaining weight back, and really just market research at the end of the day. And right now I run a gamified fitness community called Fit Nerd Academy, and we use the ARC system. And all my other channel are down in the description. You can watch well over 30 case studies of people saying how awesome it is and the results that they get. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely check that out. But let's start with number one, why rigid weight loss diets suck. And when I talk about rigid weight loss diets, I'm really talking about the diets that add morality to food. And we got, one of the classic lines here from Obi-Wan, only a Sith deals in absolutes. And I really look at nutrition that way, because you'll get a lot of people who make you feel bad or make you feel like you're doing something wrong or shaming you if you have, with keto, carbs are bad. With carnivore, fruits and seeds are something that you want to avoid. With, the latest trends, it's make sure you avoid this product because it has a seed oil. And it's like, yes, are there things that are healthier or not healthier? Absolutely. But as soon as you start adding morality to foods or making people feel bad about having certain foods, it kind of creates this religious aspect of like, we're holier than thou, we're in this corner, everyone in this corner is bad. And where that creates a lot of struggle is really with like the relationship with food. It's like, oh, I'm a bad person because I had this bad food. And I really just try and look at things from a nutrition standpoint and what I would call like diet agnostic, where every single diet adheres to the same principle of putting you in a calorie deficit. And then the diet is going to be better suited for different type of individuals based on what they can be adherent to, based on what their body needs. And so I'm really big on just like getting away from this rigid approach of this is the diet I'm going to do. I'm going to do the Atkins diet, and this is the best way. Every other way sucks. Try and run away from people who say this is the best way when every single person on the planet, all 7 billion people, are unique individuals. And so what happens a lot of times with these too is when people get on them is they sacrifice everything at the altar of the scale. And this poor ATAT here is going to go faceplant because he is tired and he's going to run out of energy because he's got nothing in the battery in the tank. And that's where I think the lack of emphasis a lot of times on different macronutrients or micronutrients is crucial and critical in looking at how it impacts performance or body composition when you look at like protein or carbohydrates, looking at brain fog and hormones and how fat impacts those. And then at the micronutrient level, making sure you're getting enough fiber, making sure that you're getting enough vitamin D. Like there's so many things that impact how the body feels and functions at a cellular level. And if you're avoiding those at the expense of the almighty scale, you're going to find yourself burning out long term, which is not good. And on the other side of things too is like, yeah, we want to see the scale go down, but we also want to perform and function. Like I don't want to just do this for fashion. I want to do this for function. I don't want to just look good or hit a arbitrary number. I want to be able to go and move my body weight around, do things pain free, go and live and express my body to the best of my ability so I can have the best life possible, and do that with my kids or do that with my friends or do that at numerous life stages. So, rigid weight loss diets, they basically just get you in this mindset of this is good, this is bad, let's lose weight. If there was a what like best size fits all diet, it would have already won the market and had 100% market share. There are no best diets. If you're on a diet that is causing you to lose weight, you're in a calorie deficit. So, that's a great segue. Why did you lose weight? You were in a calorie deficit. And so I'm going to get my mug out of here just so you can see this a little bit more. Right here in the top right, you've got energy balance. And so when someone starts to lose weight, let's say January, their total daily energy expenditure, that's their resting metabolic rate, that's their NEAT, so non-exercise, so maybe they're getting in a lot of steps. Then they got the thermic effect of food, they've got their exercise, everything that the body does over the course of the day to expend energy. Let's say it's 3,000 calories. It's January, you're getting after it. Why not? Let's just absolutely crush it. You eat 2,000 calories, and so that puts you in 1,000 calorie deficit. These numbers are pretty small here, but we got January. That is going to bring you, let's say you're at 270, now you're at 260. February, total daily energy starts to slow. You can't keep that torrent pace, but keep calories at 2,000. You keep losing weight. Now you're at 245. Oh, we got some momentum. Now we're in March, 2,000 calories, starting to plateau a little bit. Oh, that's frustrating. I wonder what I should do. Let's just decrease calories because that's, calories in, calories out. Let's go lower on calories. So now you're at 235. All right, it's working again, but I need to go lower. So let's eat 1,800 calories, or let's eat, this one's 1,200 calories. So now you get to this really low calorie intake mark. That's right here in May. You can see this lighter blue calorie intake, 1,200, total daily energy expenditure, close to 2,000. So it puts you in a deficit. Now, here's where the wheels fall off. You lost, in this example, from 270 or 260 to 225, let's just say easy math, 45 pounds. So you're like, man, I'm crushing it. 45 pounds lost. Um, if you go back to the same habits, the same eating patterns that got you overweight, going to gain the weight back. And so there's two things that happen here. One, metabolic adaptation, in that your body wants to maintain homeostasis. And I was going through the mass research review just to kind of pull a specific study here. And I found this one really interesting. And it was Eric Trexler. He's a expert PhD in the training and nutrition space. How much does metabolic adaptation actually matter? And just a little bit of background on metabolic adaptation is as you lose weight, your energy requirements decrease. Your body's always trying to maintain homeostasis. And so it's always going to try and down regulate unnecessary activity so that your body's not just dropping pounds. Your body does not want to, look good on a magazine cover for the beach. The body wants to be able to reproduce. Like that's what your body's optimizing for. And so the weight that you're, or the calorie intake that you're able to lose weight at worked for a little while, but as you lost weight, your energy requirements decreased. You had maybe less muscle mass, you had less weight in general. A 300-pound individual is going to require more energy to move that meat wagon filled with blood than a 150-pound individual. So your energy balance requirement, or your energy requirement, is going to decrease, and that balance is going to adjust. That's the metabolic adaptation perspective. So that's definitely something you got to take into account. The other thing you got to take into account is your environment. And I would look at this as everything that provides a stimulus to your brain. And, we'll get into that in this next section. But really, what happens most of the time is that, and this is something that Eric Trexler talks about. He goes, as noted previously, being particularly susceptible to metabolic adaptation, i.e., having a thrifty metabolic phenotype. So, just do a little bit of background on here. A thrifty metabolic phenotype is someone who's metabolically inflexible. Their metabolism does not like to adjust, so it's harder for them to maybe start to see progress right away. And that's a reference to being thrifty financially, to where you are unlikely to want to spend money. Whereas someone who is spendthrift, which is at the bottom of this, is going to be someone who is just willy-nilly with money. So a metabolism that's like, sure, let's expend energy. We got plenty more coming. That's going to be someone who typically has a harder time gaining weight. But anyway, let's keep going down through this. So um, doesn't necessarily lead to maintaining a higher body weight or body fat percentage. Without intentional weight loss or weight gain efforts, most people passively stay comfortably between their upper and lower intervention points, and the exact location is largely dictated by behavioral and environmental factors. So, behavioral and environmental values, beliefs, mindsets. Where do we get those things? We get those things from our community, from the people that we spend time with. You've heard the saying, we are the average of the 5 people we spend time with. And I pulled up this little GIF of our boys in the 501st because the unit that you are surrounded by is going to set the standard about how we do things. And so, what you've got to do, this is the first thing that has to happen once you lose the weight. And as you're losing the weight, I would definitely recommend doing this, is curate your environment for success. Find a community with shared beliefs, a community that values exercise, a community that values eating healthy, a community that doesn't want to stay up till 3 a.m. playing video games, but a community that's like, hey, let's wake up early and get after it. This isn't to say video games are bad, but if you're 50 pounds overweight and you're staying up till midnight having hot pockets and playing Dungeons and Dragons, like, and you want to lose weight, like something's got to change. All right. So having a community with shared values, beliefs, interests, goals, you are going to want to try and fit in with your community. Humans are tribal. If your tribe is, shaming you for trying to eat healthy, we've all been there where someone's going to say something like, oh, you don't need to lose weight, or, oh, come on, just live a little. That's your community trying to pull you back to that community's mindset and baseline. So let's say you lost weight, right? You lost 100 pounds. And this is exact conversations that I had over the last couple of days with 2 individuals, and I'm just like super passionate about this right now. If you go back into the same environment, or you go back to how you used to operate, you are going to bring yourself back to baseline. This is why lottery winners will lose all of their money. This is why professional athletes will go broke after 3 years of making millions of dollars. You're always going to return to your baseline beliefs, values, habits, however you want to approach this. And you can't outrun those. And so people will gain the weight back, one, because of metabolic adaptation, but more so because they never do anything to change the environment that they're in. And that environment also includes the mindset that they have around food. And I'll give you a deeper cut here. They never exceed their identity and their belief about themselves. If you're someone who sits there and says, oh, I'm big boned, or oh, it's my genetics, it totally could be a component of that. But you're never going to move beyond changing your genetics, or changing your genetic expression, or changing your body composition if you believe that that's just what you deserve, or if you believe you're not worthy of eating healthy, or you believe that it's not possible. How are you supposed to go and achieve something that you don't believe is possible? And if you're surrounded by people who have always told you your entire life you'll never amount to anything, this is just how our family is, you're not going to even question the possibility that there's a different opportunity out there. And yes, genes get passed down, but not as much as values and habits do. I've talked to thousands of people and asking them, hey, what do you think is contributing to the weight loss or weight gain? And they always come back to, oh, well, I've just always been like this, or I was like this when I was younger, or my family was like this. And what's really interesting is when I talk to people who maybe are struggling with high blood pressure, or pre-diabetes, or just weight, management in general, it's typically something that their parents struggled with. And it typically started with the habits and values that were established at a very young age, and how you ate as a 5-year-old, as a 6-year-old. And most people want to look at, oh, what do I do when I'm 25 to make a change? And this isn't to go into like therapy and dealing with root traumas, but a lot of your beliefs around food are going to be passed down from your parents or from your family. And so if you're a bigger person that is trying to make a change and you want to do that for your family, I would look at that as, hey, this is a bigger opportunity to change the direction of my lineage, change the direction for my kids because the buck stops here. And I think that that's a super motivating, powerful way to look at this. Yeah, like most people will do things because they want to, feel more confident in their skin or they want to have more energy. But I think it's a really powerful motivator to be like, my family tree is going to have a completely different direction because of a decision that I made today or whenever you end up making this. So, um, where are we at here? Let's keep going. Community. So you'll expand or shrink to the size of your environment, which is dictated by what your brain takes in as a stimulus. So, cool way to think about this is that your eyes and your ears are how your brain takes things in. You could also look at your touch, but I can't think of anything that you would touch that would make you want to eat less or more. Um, so, ears, what am I talking about here? Music, podcasts, you're watching the video, you're consuming media in through your ears. And that is getting put into your brain. That is now impacting the calculus that your brain runs on how it sees the world, the decisions that it has to make, and the mental models that it runs. And then eyes. Your social media feed is one of the biggest indicators of what you're focused on. If you go through your social media feed and you're trying to improve your health and fitness, you should see things on there that are inspiring you, that are educating you, that are basically empowering you to stay on this journey because Instagram or TikTok or whatever is basically just reflecting back to you what you find interesting. But on the flip side, if your feed is a bunch of junk food, is just the idea of partying all the time and drinking all the time and just not giving an F. And I'll see this a lot of times too, which is kind of sad. And I don't really talk about this a ton of times, but I'll see people who are, big collectors and they'll make memes or jokes about being in debt and spending all of their money on Pokemon cards or on stuffed pillows or on Funko Pops. And if you're watching that and you're like, yeah, I like that. And then you're wondering why you've got a mindset of spend your money, spend your money, spend your money. It starts with what you're taking in with your eyes and what beliefs you're taking in with your eyes, whether it's money, whether it's your health, whether it's your relationships. If you're always fed certain perspectives or certain values, you're just going to put that loop and run that play over and over and over. It's really hard to break out of that pattern unless you change the stimulus that your brain is given. And again, if you spent 10, 15, 20 years in a certain environment where maybe health and fitness and eating healthy isn't prioritized, you got to work pretty hard to change that stimulus and be really conscious about what it is that you're doing here. And so, second thing that must happen, you got to create systems that lead to long-term results. And I'll kind of steal my thunder on this next slide. You got to educate yourself, but I'll get to that in a second. And so, one of the things that I find mildly infuriating is just the sentence of, "Oh, I know nutrition. Like I'm pretty good there." And it's like there's a difference between knowing that you should eat healthy and like actually being able to execute it. Because if you truly knew nutrition, you wouldn't be dealing with the weight or the health or the fitness challenges that you're dealing with. Because so much of the goals that people have is just an inability to address their nutrition. And again, it's hard. I'm not here to say that it's like it's super easy. Everyone should just do it with a flip of the switch. But it just kind of comes from like an ego place of like, oh, I'm good. There's no more for me to learn. There's nothing more for me to be able to apply because I know it. And so I'll give you guys kind of a little analogy here. Level one is success when it's easy. So these little Padawans, they can block the blaster bolt in the Jedi Temple. Sure, they got a little head guard on, but Master Yoda's there, and they can, they know how to block blaster bolts, right? And whether you're in the military and you know how to fire a pistol, or whether you're a pilot and you know how to take off, like there's levels of knowing that are like basic beginner. You can do it when it's easy. Most people can eat healthy when they don't have any stress, when they're able to go grocery shopping, when they're not traveling. They can do it when it's easy. Awesome. There's level two. Obi-Wan's fighting off thousands of battle droids. Now he's blocking battles or blocking bolts under duress, under stress, right? That's another level of knowing. Can you eat healthy? Can you stay consistent with your workouts when work gets stressful? When maybe your kids get sick? When you don't feel like doing it? That's another level of knowing. And then the third level of knowing is you can be successful in just about any scenario, right? Let's say you're a pilot. It could be super turbulent, rain, stormy, windy, you name it. You're still going to fly that plane. You're still going to get people there safely. You're still going to land the plane. You're not going to be a very effective pilot if you're only able to be successful when it's easy. Obi-Wan being able to take on a Sith Lord and cut him in half, that guy can do it when his master's dead. That guy can do it when he's angry, right? It's a different level of knowing. And so when people say, "Oh, I know nutrition," you don't. Because if you did, you'd be able to be successful during the holidays, during travel, during vacations. And this isn't to say you have to, restrict yourself during those times, but if you're always going to fall apart whenever things get tough, guess what? You're always going to gain the weight back whenever things get tough because you never learned how to be successful when things weren't easy. And if you can only be successful when you have a 3-month stint where you're only going to focus on it and you don't have any systems to keep you successful when it gets harder, well, then, yeah, you're going to ride this roller coaster because you're going to be at the um, beck and call, or you're basically just going to be victim of whatever situation or season you find yourself in. So you got to really be able to educate yourself and build systems around, all right, here's how I be successful. Here's how I'm going to be successful on vacation. All right, I know what foods I'm going to get. I'm going to actually do it because again, there's a difference between knowing how to, turn the lightsaber on and actually be able to use it. And I think a lot of people just live in this world where they're like, oh, I know how to do it. But it's like, until you've actually done it and done it consistently, you don't really know how to do it. And so, really, what you want to be able to do is unlearn what you've learned. And what I mean by this is we all have beliefs. And this is stuff that I'm actively working on in a number of different areas in my life, whether that's in my marriage or as a father. Like, I'm trying to unlearn biases that I've learned. And so you've got to be able to approach training with a different mindset. You've got to be able to say, all right, I don't have an hour to work out, but I'm still going to get in 30 minutes rather than think I can skip because I can't be perfect. Like that's an example of unlearning a pattern of giving up because you're not perfect. You've got to learn how to just do something and continue to progress forward, even if it's only 5%. Nutrition, right? There's the belief that, oh, it's the weekend, so I'm going to cheat and let loose because I deserve it. And it's like, do you? Like, what did we do to deserve needing to eat like an asshole for the entire weekend just because we worked for 5 days? And there's different versions of that. I think just raising the standard of what you deem as a special occasion is one of the best ways to stay consistent. Because if every day is a special occasion, then you're always going to have a reason to overindulge, and you're always going to have a reason to struggle. Energy expenditure, right? Having a bias for like, all right, I'm going to go and get a walk in, or I'm going to go and just get some movement, even though I wasn't able to get a workout in. And the more you can expend energy, whether that's through a higher protein diet, or whether that's through walking, or whether that's through exercise or more sleep, and just making sure that your system's running as well as possible. It's a mindset perspective. Values. Some people really value their health. Some people don't. Some people really value working out. Some people don't. You're never going to exceed your values because what it is that you spend your time and money on is just a clear sign of what you value, right? If I've got a room behind me of $10,000 of Legos, I value Legos. If I have, a gym membership that maybe is more expensive than another one, I might value a nicer or cleaner gym. You look at your bank account or your statement, and that will tell you what you value. Beliefs, just beliefs around what's possible. I talked about this a lot earlier in the video, but just beliefs around what you believe is possible, beliefs around what you think is weird. I think a really big one that just comes to mind right now is a lot of people believe that it's supposed to be sustainable or that it's restrictive to try and lose weight. It's like I would run from those people so far because anytime you want to grow, it's not supposed to be sustainable. The Olympics are about to go on right now. Like those people are training in a way that's not sustainable so that they can get the gold medal. And then they're not going to train that way for a certain amount of time. But anytime you want to grow, you have to push yourself. It's not sustainable to always be in a dead sprint, but you got to be in a dead sprint if you're going to run away from where you don't want to be. Identity. This is again something that's a little bit more heady and less tactical, but you got to get to a point to where you're like, all right, I am the kind of person that doesn't give up, as opposed to I'm a POS. And it's sad. I'll talk to people and they'll be like, I want to start working out, but I'm just a POS. I just got to get off the couch. And it's like, you're talking about yourself that way. It's going to be really hard for you to move beyond that. And just to kind of land this home with another Star Wars example, like when Din Djarin says, I am a Mandalorian, he's not just communicating the sentence, I am a Mandalorian. He's communicating his values, weapons, training, um, being relentless, the creed, like all of these different things are underneath that belief in that statement of, I am a Mandalorian. That's his identity. And you can make identity shifts, whether that's from I am a husband to I am a father to I am, when I played baseball, like I was an athlete and then I stopped playing baseball. I had to make this really big identity shift. I'll talk to a lot of guys in the military where they're, they have a purpose, they have a mission, and then they let themselves go as soon as that ends. It happens a lot of time with athletes as well. And it's like, what's your identity? What's true about you? It's not necessarily your circumstance, but what do you believe about yourself at your core? And so just kind of wrap this up. Next steps. I wouldn't recommend this. Number one, you could just like ignore this, like watch this 30-minute video and then just be like, all right, cool. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing, staying stuck. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend that. Um, keep watching videos on YouTube, whether it's my content. You'll probably start to get other things in your algorithm around personal development and fitness and maybe a little bit of Star Wars lore. Number three, if you want to work together, schedule a roadmap call, walk you through how we do this with people all over the country, all over the world. And, we can get you making some of these shifts and educating you. And kind of just want to come back to this last one. I said I would talk about education, but really the thing that makes this happen is going to be education. Because if you don't have the map out of the maze, if you don't understand how the sausage is made, you're going to be victim to whatever situation you find yourself in. Like coming back to this, like people don't understand the science and mechanism behind how they're losing weight. And so they fear carbs, but they don't understand why carbs are beneficial. So the more you can educate yourself, the more you can understand, oh, here's why my weight went up. Here's why my weight went down. Here's why I'm having trouble going to the bathroom. Here's why I'm really lightheaded. And when you understand what is causing you to feel a certain way or perform a certain way or for the scale to go up or the scale to go down, then you have more control. You have more power. And the more control you have over your goals, the less victim you are and the more you're able to take ownership and see those results and maintain that. And I think too, when you truly coming back to that truly know, when you truly know how to get a result, you're also going to truly know how good it feels when you're, you know, on top of the world, super confident, have a ton of energy. And, you know, if you were to like go to a billionaire's house and you're like, whoa, I didn't even realize this was possible. Or if you were to, get teleported into an Olympic athlete's body and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize what it was like to be this fast. That's going to give you a new level of knowing. And once you know, like, wow, this is what's out there, it's going to be really hard to go back. Um, Luke, probably doesn't want to go back to Tatooine once you realize, whoa, there's a big old galaxy out there. And I think once you get to understand what is possible for you, you're not going to want to go back. But you got to believe that it's possible for you to make a change. You got to believe that what you're doing is worth it. Get in a different environment, and I believe that you can do this. You just got to stick with it and kind of apply some of the things I talked about here. And if you want to learn more about it, uh, down in the description, we can have a chat. If you want to subscribe, appreciate that. Hit that like and whatever button. At this point, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm done talking. Peace.